Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to Auto Club Speedway as it plays host to race number 6 of the Dark Horse Racing Series F.A.R.T NDCar Series. Getting ready for 2-mile action here, entering into the second half of the season. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Matthew Rodriguez. And Matt, we were at the sister track to open up the season at Michigan. So these drivers have a little bit of an idea of what these cars are going to do, but we were observing these guys in practice almost 260 miles per hour in the draft, so things are going to happen fast.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those, I kind of want to almost say hang on and just hope for the best, because I don't really think I want to be leading this race. I think I kind of want to be hanging back off that lead pack just in case something goes wrong.
We ended up seeing at Michigan J.W. Miller go to victory lane, but last time out when we were at the road course of Road America 2 weeks ago, Eric Schaus picked up not only the victory, but also the points lead. J.W. Miller is not in the field here tonight, so an opportunity for Schaus, who's going to roll off from the 11th position, to be able to continue to pad his lead as we have another half of the season left to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm really going to wonder here is who's going to take the advantage, because there's still a good part of the season left. I mean, and we're coming up to some really good tracks where it's Auto Club this week. We're going to Homestead next week, and I think Homestead is going to be another one of those tracks. Texas Motor Speedway is coming up. I think that's going to be another one of those high-speed tracks. We're going to see a lot of passes. Then we go to Gateway, but then we hit that wild card of Daytona. I think that's going to be what shakes it all up.
Craig Forsyth going to start on the pole position here tonight. Coming into this race, his best starting position was second, and that was at Michigan. Amazing that we're this far into the season and we're saying that Forsyth's got his first pole of this series.
Yeah, it's been really odd seeing Forsyth this season. I mean, how strong he was in the IR12 car versus what it is now. It's a little bit, it puts you on the back foot a little bit. Definitely didn't play out how we saw going into this season.
We show you the starting lineup for tonight's event. Going to be 18 drivers taking the green flag this evening. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on the 12 of Arturo Mayorga. We saw him run really strong back at Road America, finished up in the podium that day, but we've yet to see what he's able to do on the speedway, so we'll see if he follows it up. He's rolling off in the 8th position, and of course you got some other drivers up here inside of the top 10 that we've got to keep an eye on. Matt Wagner, I know that back in the Dark Horse Racing Series, he had, I believe it was a couple of victories at Michigan, so very good at the high-speed 2-mile racetracks. He's going to be rolling off on the outside of row number 2, but here we go. 18 drivers going to take the green flag here tonight. 100 laps at Auto Club Speedway. Correction, 200 laps at Auto Club Speedway as we are underway.
And 200 laps may seem pretty hefty, but we're going outrageous speeds here. I mean, I don't think it's going to take that long.
Not going to take long to see them try different lanes as well. Already looking 3 wide. That was, I believe, Charles Teed. Yep, and that black and white and pink number 5 that was up to the 3rd lane. You can see here in the corners the seams separating about 5 grooves available to these drivers.
And here's where we get into that fun period where I think if you're the lead car, it's almost like if you're watching Formula E yesterday at Portland. It's really, you don't want to be the lead car because you're getting terrible gas mileage, but not only that, you're punching the hole for all the guys behind you. It's just slowing you down. It puts you almost in a sitting duck.
I did not actually watch that race, but I did hear from someone that did. It said it was kind of like a super speedway race at a road course, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around that description.
It is a blast. I did notice that we had Elmer Joseph. He ended up dropping the pit road, it looks like, after the start. He ended up getting an EOL penalty. He's coming out now. He's going to be at least 2 laps down.
Tough break there for Joseph. He'll be hoping to see a caution or 2 to get back on the lead lap. As up in this lead group, you got about 13 cars. Quartet of drivers have fallen off of this pack, maybe anticipating an early wreck. Connell, Youngman, Lemon, and Brian Wright all back there for the time being, as on that inside line, Craig Forsyth. And I think this is going to be something we'll see whoever the leader is all night long. Just kind of hug that white line saying, hey, if you're going to pass me, you're going to have to do it the longer way around the racetrack, which Taylor Jordan is trying to do right now.
The big thing that kind of makes me a little bit curious is when they're starting to go maybe 20, 30 laps. is that tire going to fall off any bit? It's going to start losing grip on that bottom lane where it'll start pushing up higher and higher.
Just saw Elmer Joseph that last time the leaders came out of turn 2. He was down on the apron and slow. And it looks like he is slowing once again. Don't know if he's coming back to pit road or not, as we had near contact between Jeff Hysong and Taylor Jordan for that second position. They almost made some wheel-to-wheel contact, and these are two drivers that are running really well in the point standings. Hysong right now 6th in points. Taylor Jordan tied for 4th in points with the race leader Craig Forsyth. You talk about who's the driver that's going to step up and challenge Eric Schaus for that points lead. You got a trio of contenders right up here in our top 3.
I think the next big thing is just making sure you don't get involved in the wreck. You know it's coming, or at least you feel it's coming. You don't want to be involved in it because, hey, you're going to have to burn that fast super early, and hey, if something happens later in the race, you're pretty much a sitting duck.
The points are really close coming into this race. Road America did its part in really kind of bringing the top 5 together with a very close points proximity. There's less than 40 points, 38 points separating Eric Schaus back to Taylor Jordan 5th in the standings. Really, when you think about it, with the field size we've got tonight, and if we have the same type of field size next week at Homestead, we could have a new points leader by the time we leave Florida.
And that's the big thing you got to factor in is, hey, you could be Eric Schaus right now, and you could end up getting in an accident, and hey, you end up burning your fast repair, getting another accident. Hey, you're already on the back foot looking into next week, and hey, if next week doesn't go your way, now your fate's kind of in the hands of Texas.
As of right now, Eric Schaus is in the 10th position, kind of running towards the middle of this pack. What a big move there by Matt Wagner. Up the middle, he took the inside on Taylor Jordan, tried the outside on Craig Forsyth, just couldn't get the momentum through the center of 1 and 2, but a power move by driver number 3. He went from 4th to 2nd in the matter of a couple hundred feet.
I do notice a guy that I've seen kind of drop off a little bit has to be Charles Teed. I saw him start battling up in that lead pack, and I've just noticed him start to kind of backpedal all the way back to about 9th, 10th. Looks like he's trying to stay behind Schaus right now.
Stouffer for the white and green machine up on that top side now, trying to make a move on Craig Forsyth. He is, I believe, 10th. Yes, 10th in the points coming into this race. Not only an opportunity for drivers to be able to close up on the points gap held by Eric Schaus, but also an opportunity for a couple of drivers that didn't get off to the best start here in the first half of the regular season to be able to get themselves back into the picture. I think Christopher is one of those drivers. We saw in a lot of the early races, he had tremendous speed. I believe there was one track, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. It might have been New Hampshire or Phoenix. He led a lot of laps, but just didn't get the finishing results to kind of reflect how good of a race car he had. Now trying to close out races, I think, to be able to get back into the title picture. As you said, still plenty of schedule to go.
And the big thing is Stouffer's already working at a 1-race disadvantage. He missed the opening race of the season, I believe. Yes, I think he missed the opening race of the season. So he's already working at that 1-race disadvantage, but hey, he had issues at Road America. He had issues at Phoenix. He cannot keep having those issues and still compete.
Hey, talk about issues, and while it might not seem like it, we were talking about this, and we'll let the viewers in on this. The issues for the drivers in terms of handling actually gets worse the longer the run goes on. People might think, well, we went green and we had them double and 3 wide all up each other's rear wings. How could this be worse? As the fuel consumption continues, the back end of the car is going to get lighter, and these drivers are going to be a lot looser off of 2 and off of 4. So we're going to have to keep an eye on these cars and see if there's going to be a lot more slipping and sliding as we are entering almost now into the second half of a fuel run. I heard from one of the drivers tonight we can expect to see a green flag pit stop somewhere about 38 to 40 laps into a run.
And I'll tell you, there's no worse feeling as a driver going into the corner, turning the wheel, expecting to turn the same way it's turned the last 20 laps, and suddenly it starts to step out on you.
Forsyth continuing to hold that inside line. You know, there's a driver kind of comes to mind that we've seen in the past here under the Dark Horse Racing Series banner that used to do this a lot. Nick DeGroot always seemed to be able to hook that inside line at the 1.5 and 2 mile racetracks, force a driver to go the long way around, and Forsyth adopting that here as he has led every lap so far. But Christopher's not giving up. Gets great runs, able to jump to the outside, but it just kind of seems like the momentum stalls out going into the corner, and he's not able to make it up off the corner and down the straightaway.
Yeah, I've noticed that Highline has a really good run on the back straightaway. I'm watching Wagner right now. Highline has a really good run in the back straightaway. He ends up getting into the corner. About midway through the corner, it almost seems like that run kind of just dies out. And then
That
they go right back to
54
the straightaway.
54 Sheridan Wade now up here in the third position. Keep your eye on him. They ended up having a test session last night for drivers to get used to this track, this car, and this setup. And Sheridan Wade was a big advocate for it. So obviously he learned a lot in
Wagner's
that
in the
practice
fence.
session last night.
I'd say Wagner got the fence just a little bit. Don't think he damaged the car, but definitely is kind of falling a little bit.
Losing momentum for sure. But the high speeds they're carrying, though, here, I mean, right now, these drivers roughly between 235 to 250 miles per hour, depending on how much draft they're getting down these straightaways and into the corner. What might normally seem like a harmless brush to the outside wall, at that high of speed, it could actually be worse.
Yeah, that's the thing where the big thing that I'm really concerned about is the right front suspension getting pushed in. Really, it's going to end up knocking off the toe of the car. It's going to make it drive a little bit wonky. It could also lead to stability issues. But the second thing I'm worried about is that front wing, and it doesn't look like that front wing is damaged any bit. But if that front wing gets pushed in, hey, the way that your car drives just changes, where it ends up pushing a lot more.
Lead change. Chris Stouffer finally made the outside work there out of 2 and down the back straightaway last time, and he clears to the top. Oh, we got a spinner on the apron! Is that Elmer Joseph again? Caution's out. I don't think he hit anybody, but he spun up onto the racing surface as the leaders were coming around him through 1 and 2. The yellow flag will wave on lap 17, so Stouffer got the lead not a moment too soon.
And if you want one big uh-oh, there is one guy who got hit out of that I know is going to be in pain. It is going to be Will Roberts. He got the tail end of it.
Will comes into this race third in the point standings, former winner this season. Let's go back and take a look at it here. Oh yeah, I was hoping when we dropped back to the 13 that maybe he just spun on the apron, but he did come back up the racetrack all the way to the outside wall, and you'll see right here, as you alluded to, Matt, nowhere for Will Roberts to be able to go.
And really what it is, what it chalks down to is it's really just unfamiliarity with the car, maybe unfamiliarity with the track, or hey, maybe he did something different with his setup today, where you're exiting at that apron and you're seeing the pack coming and you're wanting to join the tail end of that pack to keep the draft. And I think he was really just pushing and just ended up going up on track a little bit.
So I'm a little concerned there if that's the case there with a driver that was coming out of pit road and trying to let the leaders on by. If we end up getting into a round of green flag pit stops, just how treacherous is that apron going to be for drivers that are merging out of pit lane?
I mean, you got to think, these cars are very highly aero-dependent cars, and they're extremely low to the ground, so that slight elevation change is just enough to bottom it out and make it spin on around.
A tough night for Elmer Joseph. Didn't begin good for him, had that unscheduled pit stop, fell multiple laps down, and this incident here, bringing out the first caution, has taken him to the garage area. He'll finish 18th place in tonight's event at Auto Club. Doesn't even make it to the lap 20 mark. Sheridan Wade, as well as DL Lemon, electing to stay out. Everybody else was on pit road. See if this is a strategy of just getting maybe a bonus point lap led, but Sheridan was running, I think, 4th or 5th when the caution came out. So if that is his strategy, he's giving up a ton of track position.
Let's see.
We're halfway into a fuel run.
I said,
so you would need a caution to come out in 20 laps in order to be able to come to pit road under caution. Otherwise, he'd have to make a green flag pit stop while everybody else would be able to go another 20 laps further.
See, I don't understand it because he was fast enough to lead a lap. So yeah. I understand it if you wanted to just... This is an interesting one. I'm going to have to see how this one plays out. I don't know about this.
Also interesting, just notice that Craig Forsyth was 3rd off of pit road. Had the #1 pit stall, but Taylor Jordan's team was able to nab what would eventually now be 3rd place. Stouffer, 1st on, 1st off of pit road. Is there maybe a slight disadvantage to that #1 pit stall, not being able to get nearly as good a launch to the commitment line off of exit?
Well, the great news is about having that last pit stall is that, hey, you can really just kind of gun it out of your box. You're not going to hit that pit road speed limit. But you got to think the Auto Club pit boxes are all concrete. So when you're entering your pit box, you have a little bit bigger of a tendency to slide through it if you're braking late. Same thing when you're trying to put power down. Hey, in these, you can't really put that power down without running the risk of burning up the right rear tires and end up spinning it out. So I think he has to take it a little bit easier on exit, and everyone's able to kind of take a little bit of advantage on that.
So a little further information on Elmer Joseph. When he made his unscheduled pit stop at the very beginning of the race, he took on his faster pair then, and then being involved in this latest incident, didn't have a faster pair left. That's why he's out of the race. Will Roberts, no surprise, also had to take on his faster pair. He will restart in the 10th position. He is the only one that does not have the mulligan available for the final remaining run of this race. Still going to be about 180 laps to go. The lights are out atop the iRacing pace truck, and it will be Sheridan Wade who elects to, on 20-lap older tires, be the one to lead us to green. And this will be interesting to see if 20-lap old tires can hold off the field, because they're going to have a lot more downforce with full fuel tanks. This is going to be a lot lighter.
I'm just really worried in the fact of this is going to be, again, 20-lap old tires, but not only that, you're also throwing yourself off pit strategy, where, hey, if we get a long green flag run, you are going to be in a really bad place.
Green flag in the air. Sheridan Wade, the control car, leads him across the line.
He got a really bad start. I'd say he didn't take off as much as I thought he would.
See what happens here into turn one. Fresh Firestones there for Chris Stouffer and Taylor Jordan. They'll look to take advantage here down the back straightaway. Stouffer to the top, not going to be able to clear. Here comes Taylor Jordan on the inside line. Ooh,
yeah,
man, you saw the front end of the 802. He was yanking on that thing.
Yeah, and I noticed, looks like Sheridan just cannot get down to that bottom line of the track with those tires. I don't know if maybe just how he's entering, but I'm going to keep watching here and see he arcs it all the way down, and he ends up just pushing up just slightly, and that's what I think is going to end up getting him.
That was close. Nearly made contact with the left rear tire of Chris Stouffer. Now, how about a little tandem draft down the back straightaway there? I don't think they touched wing to wing, but it was a very tight draft there with Stouffer and Forsyth. Wasn't enough to get Stouffer clear there on that outside. Sheridan Wade still holding tough on the bottom.
But this kind of hammers home our point where, hey, later in the race, I mean, those tires make so much of a difference being able to hold that bottom line.
Stouffer looks like he wants to kind of pinch the 54 down, but at the same time, with the 54 pushing up, that's a bit risky.
I don't know if I'd do that.
No, I don't think I would either.
I mean, if he really wants to be kind of cheeky here, he's got a little bit of space in between Stouffer. Well, he had a little bit of space in between Stouffer, but when Wade starts pushing up, he can kind of arc it all the way down and cross him over. But again, I think he may end up taking it with you. Oh!
Pushes up again. They're off of 2. Stouffer having to move up about a half groove to give him space. Oh boy, here we go. Taylor Jordan was able to find a lane to the inside, and I think that's going to propel him to the lead. It does, as Chris Stouffer way up the track, almost into that bright blue outside wall in 3 and 4.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it here, and I can tell those tires are still fast. That's not the problem. It's just the problem of they have no grip. So it's kind of that trade-off where I think he can still kind of keep up with these leaders, but he's definitely putting a lot more work into it.
So let's just kind of speculate with what we're seeing here out of Sheridan Wade. Let's say we have a caution come out with about 20 laps to go, and you're just a tick short on fuel. Do you come down pit road and just do a fuel-only strategy? Because it's definitely looking like Sheridan Wade, those tires are holding up in terms of speed with drivers that have brand new tires around him.
Honestly, I think I'd have to take tires just because, I mean, you got to think with how draft dependent this track is at the moment, it would just let me be able to make more moves in the last few laps where, hey, maybe those guys up front are struggling with keeping the grip down. Hey, I've got more grip. I can go high, low, anywhere.
We just looked back. Matt Wagner saw him coming off of pit road last time by. Unscheduled stop for the 3. He is 2 laps down as we're 3 wide for the top position. Contact. Sheridan Wade came down into Taylor Jordan, almost got sent up into Chris Stouffer. Somehow, everybody kept it pointed in the right direction. We stay green, but not a whole lot of room being given up here amongst the top 5.
Yeah, I don't really think that was on purpose. I think it was really just he didn't remember where he was on track, and that's so easy to do, and it's hard to kind of get in that perspective when you're up here watching from afar. But in the car, I mean, you're watching those lanes on the track, and you're trying to keep a mental note of where you are on track, what lane you're in, and it's really easy just to kind of lose that spatial awareness and say, "Oh, wait, do I still have a lane below me?"
Again, back to a point that you made earlier, too. I mean, he's now almost three-quarters of the way through a fuel run. The back end's obviously lighter, and you mentioned that slight wheel turn that you did at the beginning of the run. That's going to exacerbate just how much that car is going to turn here later on in the run.
Yeah, I think it's going to become like a really snappy. So as we're seeing here, he's kind of going all the way up the track, but I'm noticing on the exit of these corners, I'm noticing the back end just getting a little bit, it's getting a little bit tail happy. And I'm wondering if that's the case of how much he's turning, or it's a kind of the result of, yeah, low fuel in the back, but also just draft.
Is running out for Sheridan Wade to have a caution save him before he has to eventually make a green flag pit stop, and he will probably lose at least one lap, if not two, especially with the speeds that these drivers are carrying around this 2-mile racetrack. Christopher, you saw him work his way back up to the front. Taylor Jordan, who was leading, dropped back to the 4th position, but I almost kind of think that was by design. I think he didn't want to be the lead car. He didn't want to be the one consuming all that fuel. He kind of dove down out of turn 4 to the inside line a couple of laps ago and just kind of let a couple of guys on by him.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of get to that point of, I'm wondering where it becomes that I want air on the front wing and how much I want to follow another guy, because I think with Wade, the reason he's so far up the track is he's trying to get air on that front wing so he can continue having that downforce. Usually if you're behind another car, your car will start plowing a little bit tight, and he's fighting tight enough as is.
Got 10 drivers up in this lead pack right now, back to the 31 of Will Roberts. Got to go about another 5.5 seconds back before you get to Joseph Morales, Brad Youngman, Najee Camargo, and I think, again, this is drivers that are kind of riding back there on purpose. I don't think they necessarily lost the draft. They're just trying to keep their cars in one piece. I mean, we know that a number of these guys have the speed to compete up here at the front. We've seen great finishes out of Morales and Camargo during the course of the season. That's why the two of them are both running up inside of the top 10 in overall points.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of looking here, and I'm trying to get the strategy, because obviously you can't. I'm in the boat of I can't ride around for 2 hours. That's it. I'm gonna have to go up there. I'm gonna have to kind of play a little bit. But I kind of liken this to almost a super speedway race, where I'm starting to think of how quickly can I get from. Again, let me use Teed as kind of an example. If I'm in 9th place right now, I have this much of a run. How quickly can I get up to the lead pack? Because I'm starting to kind of plan my moves of, okay, so I need to start making the run to the front now, and by the time we get out of 4, I'll be there.
He's on board with Charles Teed, back in the 9th position. You see the panel there on the steering wheel. Heard tonight that these drivers are going to be running the entire race in 7th gear. You can see the 7 right there, front and center on the panel of the steering wheel. Running right behind Eric Schaus in the 72, who's been very quiet here as our points leader. He's kind of been running anywhere from 8th to 10th position here this evening. Hasn't yet really made his presence felt up inside of our top 3.
And this is really smart, because you got to look at his perspective here. He's leading the points by at least 20 over Miller. Miller isn't here. So your next really competitor you're watching out for is Will, and Will's 35 points behind, but hey, he lost the faster pair, so you're already up on him. And yeah, Forsyth is racing, but Forsyth, hey, he's in a lot more of a risky situation here. So, as I'm seeing some contact there in the pack, but he's in a lot more risky of a situation. He has the risk of putting himself straight into Will Roberts' situation where he runs out of that faster pair early. So I think Eric's kind of playing the long game here. He can kind of just say, hey, we don't have to go fight right now. We can let those guys kind of tear each other up, and then I can just kind of drive by at the end.
That contact that we saw was for 3rd place. Sheridan Wade and Jeff Hysong making a little contact, a little wheel contact there. There might have been some gap whack involved, but no harm, no foul. They're both still running in the 3rd and 4th positions as we speak. Want to take the opportunity here, give a special shout out to Dark Horse Racing Series driver Jim Brooks. Understand he's dealing with some health issues That's why he's not racing here tonight. So, Jim, we're thinking of you. The Dark Horse Racing Series drivers also wanted me to give you a shout out from them. So, hope you're feeling better and hope to see you back on track when these drivers head to Homestead next week.
I miss Jim.
I do too. Almost 40 laps into this run. You talked about it. These laps, they tick away quickly. I mean, it's only about 30 seconds it takes for them to make a circuit around Auto Club. So they are wrapping the first half of this race up pretty quickly here. And keep an eye on that third place car of Sheridan Wade, because we just crossed lap 38 of his run. So he might have been able to save a little bit under that first caution period, but I don't think there could be any more than 5 laps he can go before he's eventually going to have to dive onto pit road. And this is going to be interesting, kind of use him as the guinea pig to see how difficult it's going to be with an empty fuel cell, how loose it's going to be trying to get down off the banking onto the somewhat flat apron and pit road entry.
Yeah, pit road entry is going to be a little bit iffy, because if you kind of exit a little bit earlier out of 4, and as you start exiting a little bit early out of 4, you have the risk of bottoming out that car and spinning it out. But not only that, hey, you got to get slowed down for that pit road entry. And I'm going to tell you, even though it looks wide, it is definitely a little bit more narrow than you expect.
Wade's got himself down to the inside line here. That was step 1. He was running up on the top side for a good portion. I was thinking that's not exactly the safest way to be able to get onto pit road. Not going to come down pit road this time. This will be his 40th lap completed on this run, so he's going to be on pit road pretty soon. So the strategy did not work out in his favor. Now, the only thing that we have to now wonder is, did he crunch the numbers and think, you know, I'm going to go the full 40 laps on what I've got in the tank, and maybe he can make it on one less pit stop than everybody else?
Maybe, but I'm really iffy on that. And right now there is unlimited tire set, so I wouldn't really be worrying about saving tires. I just heard the message. Wade's coming in this time. He is pitting.
We're going to keep our cameras on the 54. As you just saw, I believe that was Will Roberts swing around him. No, I'm sorry, that was actually Taylor Jordan swung around him for 4th place. It's Arturo Mayorga now to his outside after his podium finish a couple of weeks ago at Road America. And here comes the 54. Let's see.
Ooh, he's taking it really gingerly.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he backed it down really early there, which is smart, really, if you think about it. Last thing you want to do when you're playing an off-sequence strategy from everybody else is put yourself in jeopardy of spinning down on the apron, where it's not necessarily guaranteed if you do that a caution's going to come out and save you. You don't want to lose any more track position than you already are.
Mm-hmm. And the best thing that you can really do as one of these lead drivers is, if you're in a pack right now, and we're going to end up seeing some pit stops here basing off of Wade, we're going to see some pit stops here in about the next 15 to 20 laps out of these drivers. How aggressive do you want to push it on that pit road?
So we mentioned no J.W. Miller in the field here tonight. The 2-time winner was the victor in the season opener at Michigan, the other 2-mile sister track to Auto Club. So who are some of the other drivers to keep an eye on based off of the finishing results of race 1? Well, Eric Schaus, the points leader, he was the runner-up finisher there. Craig Forsyth, who spent the first 15 laps out in front and now makes a challenge on Chris Stouffer for the lead here. The pole sitter finished 3rd. Joseph Morales, who we mentioned is kind of running back outside of this lead group, he had a 4th place finish here. And Jeff Heisong's been up inside this top 4 this run since we went back green, and he was a 5th place finisher here. So keep an eye on a couple of those drivers, because I'm seeing a lot of names up here towards the front that have yet to go to victory lane. So far, J.W. Miller, Will Roberts, Taylor Jordan, and Eric Schaus are the only drivers that have taken a checkered flag here in the F.A.R.T NDCar series.
That's the thing, where the new car has kind of brought out some new faces, but it's also kind of made some talent. It kind of just rise to the top. But one guy I have not seen it get down has to be Heisong. I mean, Heisong has been getting better and better over season and season, and it seems like this new car it's slowing him down a little bit, but he's kept consistency.
Battling now for the 4th position with Arturo Mayorga. Mayorga, we saw, I think he finished 3rd last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, at Road America. And running up here inside of the top 5, looking for back-to-back top 5 finishes here in his first 2 starts. Eric Schaus right now has moved up to the 6th position and haven't mentioned his name because I don't want to jinx him with our commentator's curse, but Eric Peterson's been up in this lead pack all night. That bright yellow and red number 36 right now holding down the 7th position.
I'm just looking here, and I really want to see Peterson. I really want to see him get a win. But I know the moment that we start mentioning him more, he's going to hit something. And I don't want to jinx him.
Well, tough break, Sheridan Wade. Looks like he, even with what we saw him backing down early on the entry, looks like he might have gotten hit with a speeding penalty. So not only does he lose 2 laps, but another 2 laps on top of that. 4 laps down for driver 54. So, boy, that situation goes worse.
Is that the Auto Club pit road speed starts at the yellow cone. Normally, most iRacing really pit roads, there's 2 sets of cones. There's one cone that signifies that you've entered pit road, but you actually haven't hit the speed line yet. You haven't hit the entrance line. And then there's the second cone that lets you know, hey, at this cone, that's when pit road speed is starting to be enforced. Auto Club only has one of those cones, and that cone counts for both entry and same speed. So I think he may have just mistook it, ended up going past it faster than it needed to be.
That's effectively, at this point in time, taking Sheridan Wade out of the conversation of this victory. And to remember, too, back at the end of the first caution, he was up inside of the top 5, played the strategy to be able to be out in front to get us back underway on the restart, but boy, that is not the way I think he envisioned that strategy ending him up. He is back in the 16th position. We mentioned about Matt Wagner had that unscheduled pit stop. He about 12 laps ago came to pit road again and made the left-hand turn to the garage. So he joins Elmer Joseph back in the garage area. They will finish 17th and 18th place here tonight. They'll look to bounce back next week when we head back to the East Coast at Homestead Miami Speedway. Taylor Jordan trying that outside line still against Chris Stouffer. Stouffer doing the exact same thing that Craig Forsyth did in the early going, holding it right down there on the bottom, forcing driver to make their way around the longer distance in the corners, and going to hold off Taylor Jordan yet again. I think that if I remember correctly, when Chris Stouffer finally made the pass on then race lead Craig Forsyth, he not only got the run out of turn 2, but he had a drafting partner, which I think was Taylor Jordan at the time, down the back straightaway. That was enough of a bubble push to get him clear of Forsyth when they got into 3 and 4.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of in that moment of, when do you start planning for your pit stop? Because I'm running the math here. So we got 40 laps to a tank. It's basically, you're going to pit on 60-ish here. It's going to be 100. You're going to break it into 140. But then we have the odd pit stop because you're going to go to 180. And then you're going to have that 20-knot buffer. So do you end up doing a little bit of shorter pit now and just end up short pitting maybe a few laps each run?
A short pit to maybe get yourself back on the sequence you were already planning on being on if the thing had gone green from start to finish. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because realistically, you're always going to be, by the 40-lap standard, you're always going to be 20 laps short at the end.
Right.
So where do you want to make up those 20 laps? Do you want to make them up now, or do you want to make them up later?
I might split strategies here in this one if we continue to run under the green, and we may end up getting answers to those in the next 5 laps or so. Interesting thing, too, you brought up about super speedway type racing with what we're seeing, but one aspect of super speedway racing is you want to come down pit road with a group. Do you want to do that in this type of a race here with the open wheel cars? Because the one thing that I'm thinking about in terms of maybe not wanting to come down with a group is you'd then have to adhere to the other driver in front of you, their braking area, and it may take away your opportunity to possibly gain track position if you're just a little bit more aggressive on pit road entry.
I'm 100%. I'd rather come in with someone else. And then what I'll do on pit entry is I'll add, if I'm in the same chat with the guy in front of me.
Oh no! Stouffer on the apron, loops it around, No caution gonna wave as he's down right near the inside safer barrier. And I think that was a classic case of what we were talking about. The lower the fuel gets, the lighter the back end of the car gets, and it just snapped around on him through the exit.
And it was one of those really slow, kind of lazy snaps where it just, you don't feel it until you're halfway sideways. And the big thing is, he didn't even hit the white line. He was barely hanging above it, and it just slowly started stepping out on him.
Tough break there from the race lead for Chris Stouffer. He has not come to pit road. He's still out there, 13th position. We did have one driver on pit road already, and that was Thomas Shannon McConnell. He's fallen 2 laps down. That's the other thing as well that we're going to have to keep an eye on with these leaders. We've already seen one driver get hit with a speeding penalty in Sheridan Wade. Last thing you want to do if you're any of these guys up here like Jordan, Schaus, Forsyth, Mayorga, Peterson, who have been in this lead pack ever since we went back green, you do not want to be under the speeding police's gun and find yourself multiple laps down, because we just saw right there, that was probably the nearest thing we got up to this point of a second caution flying, and it did not fly for the Chris Stouffer spin.
And it really just didn't fly just because he was underneath that white line, and it was just barely enough where by the time that everyone else reached him, he was already below that white line, so it didn't detect him on racing surface. But he's pitting right now with DL Lemon. They could realistically work back together, but they just need a caution to kind of bail him out here.
There is Lemon, and there is Chris Stouffer, both on pit road. Taylor Jordan, I think we're probably going to see drivers. I would be shocked if we don't see some drivers on pit road this coming lap. Eric Schaus, as we got closer to the end of this fuel window, started to get brave, and he's the car up on the outside there of Taylor Jordan, battling for the race lead. Might be trying to at least get himself the lap lead bonus point there. Kind of riding in the latter half of the top 10 most of this race. Here comes Taylor Jordan in.
Oh, he came alone too.
Yes, he did. Very aggressive entry onto pit road.
I mean, he's going to have to do it just because you're going to lose so much time not having that draft.
Looks like Najee Camargo, Joseph Morales also came to pit road, and Brad Youngman from the second pack. Craig Forsyth shoots past Chris Stouffer, who's now merged back with this lead group, but Forsyth, Schaus, they're coming in.
Oh, my
Arturo.
goodness.
Oh, Schaus misses. He's on the wrong side of the pit wall.
And
I believe Mayorga's going to get hit with a speeding penalty. He was
if he doesn't,
pit road.
If he doesn't, I don't know who's actually giving out the speeding penalties.
Also in that time was Eric Peterson in the 36.
Now here comes the question.
Right there for Schaus. He's going to have to come all the way back around. And
does Schaus have the fuel?
That's what I was just going to say. Who knows how much fuel he had left?
I don't know if he has enough fuel.
Looks like the car is still under power as he heads into turn 3. Yeah, I think he's going to be able to make it onto pit road. Much slower, much more ginger entry onto pit road this time for driver 72. But has the damage already been done with all that time lost, having to very slowly make it back around pit road as here comes Haisong Teed and Will Roberts.
Roberts thought about trying that aggressive entry, but again, that pit road entry, with it being the same of the line, and yeah, it looks like Arturo is serving that speeding penalty.
Yep.
Oof. Also looks like DL Lemon served the speeding penalty as well.
You are correct. He also got hit with a speeding penalty, so that hurt Chris Stouffer in the opportunity of having a drafting partner, though we did see him get caught by that lead group when he cycled back off of pit road, so maybe when things cycle around, he'll be able to get a drafting partner from someone that was running up inside of the top 5 or top 10. But this is going to cycle around. I believe Taylor Jordan, yep, right there was the lead change going around the 31 of Will Roberts. But remember, Taylor Jordan came to pit road all by himself. That is why he is all by his lonesome right now. You've got a pack of 3 back here with Forsyth and Peterson in second and third, and they've got the lap machine of Sheridan Wade. They're going to catch that 802 pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be what the big thing is. You're going to catch him, but he's also running without that draft, so he's going to end up burning just a little bit more fuel.
Another driver out of the race, Thomas McConnell, will finish in 16th place. And after all is said and done with our first cycle of green flag pit stops, 15 drivers still running, 10 of them on the lead lap as Arturo is back down pit road in the 12. Cannot be regularly scheduled. I don't think he's already.
I wonder if
served
he
the penalty
sped
for
on exit.
speeding.
He could have either sped on exit or it could have been a exit violation. Let me just take a quick look here.
He has pulled into his pit stall, so he's not serving a pass through.
Oh, I think it's an exit violation. He just went above the line just barely. I could be wrong, though.
Tough break there for Mayorga, who was up inside of the top 5, I believe, when the pit stops began there, coming off that great run in his debut back at Road America a couple of weeks ago. But for right now, after everything is cycled through, your top 5, Taylor Jordan, Craig Forsyth, Eric Peterson, Will Roberts, and Jeff Hysong, and 2nd through 5th are in that group back there. You can just see them back in the latter half of your screen. You're going to reel in Taylor Jordan pretty quickly, and you'll have your top 5 up in the lead pack, as well as the lap car of Sheridan Wade. I believe there's another lap car that is latched onto this group also. Oh, Sheridan Wade, man, really loose right there going into turn 1.
Well,
I thought he was gonna spin up into the wall, actually.
Well, right now he is at the worst disadvantage because he's always going to be on old tires, and these guys are on new tires. And really, whenever he hops on new tires, I mean, he doesn't get the chance to kind of use them against them. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
And also, while these drivers around him have a full tank of fuel, he's got half of his fuel capacity empty, as he's already 20 laps into his run. Gonna make a move there on Eric Peterson. This is not for position. One thing I'm noticing here, and maybe it's because it's too big of a pack of drivers, but you remember back when we would end up having, little groups of 2, they always had that kind of swap back and forth type thing, and we were told that it actually helped them to be able to gain on whatever driver or drivers they were trying to catch. One driver would move in front of the other, then the other would slingshot around them. We're not seeing that here with this pack that's trying to reel in Taylor Jordan. Is that just too much air traffic control that you'd have to deal with?
No, if you want my opinion, they're saving. They're running about 10, 15 miles an hour slower. You wonder why Wade just drove on by him. Wade doesn't understand what's happening here. Wade is just going to go, but everyone behind is running almost the same speed as the leader. Even though they're in that draft, they're saving fuel.
The calculations are correct. Let's put the round number at 40. These drivers would have to go another 3 stops, I believe, in this race. We had them about 20 laps short of making it to the finish. Let's say with those 3 runs, is it possible to be able to save would be about 6.5 laps on each run that they would be lacking?
I mean, it's not unheard of. I mean, I just think that's too big of a gap. But if you can reduce it down to only having to be like a splash of fuel on like the last few laps, I mean, I would rather do that. But again, where you got Forsyth in this field, so I wouldn't doubt that he could somehow make it a way to save 20 laps of fuel. It's not unheard of.
There's a couple of drivers right now that would love to see a caution. It would breathe new life into their races. Chris Stouffer, who we saw end up having that spin-off of turn 2. He's still on the lead lap, but he is in the 8th position right now. And Eric Schaus, who missed pit road, was on the right side of the pit wall and had to traverse all the way back around this 2-mile speedway back onto pit lane. He is right now the last car on the lead lap, and he is right now only running about maybe a second and a half ahead of Taylor Jordan. There you see right there, they're both almost in the same corner. As Schaus exits out of turn 2, Taylor Jordan's in the middle of 1 and 2.
The big thing that hits me as they're saving fuel is looking at the lap times. Jordan running as a single car is running 30.1s, but Peterson and Forsyth running together are running 30.2s. I mean, those two cars together should easily be able just to fly by them. And you can even notice it when you're looking at Forsyth. I mean, he's visibly checking up.
That last time by there, Taylor Jordan 30.1, Peterson and Forsyth both in the 30.3s. So does that mean that Taylor Jordan isn't saving, or he's just not saving as much as these drivers back here?
Well, it's the fact of he's running that pace to kind of keep ahead of these guys, and he's using that to his advantage. And that may be the best thing he can do here at the moment, because if he were to back it down, all he's doing is backing it down to those 2, 3, 4 cars in the pack, and he's going to be at a worse fuel situation. Right now, the best thing you can do is kind of keep going as he's going, because you've got that. I think that's the car of Eric Schaus. Yeah, you got Schaus in front of you, and you could probably. I noticed he's been reeling in just a little bit, but it's also don't give up that 2-second lead just to get draft, because if they're not willing to go all the way, I mean, listen, I have a better chance of catching Schaus than giving up 2 seconds just to get draft, where I'm going to be at a disadvantage.
Taylor Jordan trying to reel in that 72, have an opportunity to utilize that slipstream to potentially save a little bit of fuel, as we're about to get up to lap 80 of 200 here tonight at Auto Club. Reminder, next Sunday night, these drivers are going mile-and-a-half racing. We're at the Homestead Miami Speedway. We've had some interesting mile-and-a-half racing so far this season, and we're going to have a couple of more mile-and-a-halves coming up even after Homestead. We've got Texas Motor Speedway the following week, and the penultimate race of the season going to be at Kentucky Speedway in preparation for the season ender at Indianapolis. Still looming is that wild card race of Daytona, though, in middle of July, because we've seen tonight some aspects of super speedway racing, but nothing that I think like what we're going to see when we get to that 2.5 mile super speedway.
Yeah, and Daytona has me a little scared, because I mean, we see what we can do on tracks where it is as wide as Auto Club, and you have so much space. And yeah, there isn't a lot of banking here, but you can still hold it relatively full throttle. We're going to Daytona, where it's a little bit bumpier than it is Auto Club, and there's a lot less space.
Eric Schaus jumping around the outside there of Taylor Jordan. Now let's remember, for Eric Schaus, as things stand right now, he's going to basically be able to use Taylor Jordan to maybe pick up a couple more positions. About 10 seconds up ahead, Chris Stouffer and Brad Younkman. Those are 2 spots that Eric Schaus could pick up and move from 10th up to 8th. And remember, as we mentioned tonight, the points leader and second in points, J.W. Miller, not in the field. So big opportunity to continue to grow that points lead. Now granted, he's going to have to worry about the fact that some other drivers breathing down his neck, like Will Roberts, Jeff Heisong, Craig Forsyth, and Taylor Jordan, they make up 80% of the top 5 right now, but every position is points. That's what Eric Schaus, I think, right at the moment has to concentrate on. But one thing that I'm kind of wondering here with some of these drivers that were able to make it on that first round of green flag pit stops, were able to avoid penalties, they've seen that some of the faces that were up there battling with them before the pit stops began, they're not there anymore. Stouffer is out of the picture for the time being. Eric Schaus is out of the picture for the time being. Is that nag in the back of your head of saying, maybe I should be just a little bit more conservative on this next go-round? I know I got away with it this first time, but do I really want to tempt fate a second time?
Right now, I'm kind of in the point of we cannot stop pushing, because realistically, staying up with this pack of cars is what's your best shot to win and maximize your points. Right now, I'm kind of thinking that Forsyth's going to be in one of those, hey, we're going to make this a massive points day. We need to get back in this. And that kind of flies in the face of our usual, hey, let's just finish the race. But, I mean, you got to look at Forsyth's kind of perspective here. I mean, you're 4th in points. We're almost halfway, or basically at our halfway point in the season. We've got some kind of difficult tracks coming up ahead where it's going to be a little bit of chaos for the next few weeks. So let's try and get as much points as we can.
Halfway through the season, nearly halfway through this race, and almost halfway through this fuel run, where drivers will have to start getting themselves prepared once again to potentially make yet a second round of green flag pit stops here tonight at Auto Club. Well, folks, we're going to step aside for just a brief moment, take a small break. You're not going to miss any of the action. It's going to be here on the forefront of your screen. We'll just be having a little bit of radio silence, and then we'll be back here to continue to call the action for race number 6 of the F.A.R.T NDCar Series under the Dark Horse Racing Series banner. We are underway here at Auto Club with Taylor Jordan showing the way. You saw it happen live. Cautions out for the second time here tonight. Chris Stouffer trying to get onto pit lane. We heard over comms he was going to be coming to pit road that time. I'm not sure if he reacted to a car slowing in front of him, but it overcorrected up into the outside wall, and a lot of damage on the left front suspension, especially of the number 15.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at it here, and it looks like it may have been a little bit of our old friend Gapwack, but definitely it almost seems like he didn't hear him, that he was calling out to go to pit. That's like a 40-mile-an-hour difference.
Here's a look at it again. Yep, you can see that was Sheridan Wade. Definitely some Gapwack, lifted up the right rear tire. And Stouffer, pretty good impact into that outside wall. We had a couple of drivers that had actually dove onto pit road just before that occurred. I believe Joseph Morales in the 60 was one of them. This dropped him a lap down. I don't think he is in the lucky dog position. I think that's Eric Schaus. So we'll wait and see how everything cycles around. But this was literally about, what, 3-4 laps away, Matt, from when these drivers are going to have to consider making another pit stop. So this doesn't really change up that.
Oh. No, Peterson hit. So Forsyth hit DL Lemon on the entry of pit road. He lost his front wing. Peterson hit the pit road wall, and he lost a bit of his front wing. My goodness, what in the world happened there?
Let's see if we can go back and take a look.
It's almost like...
I would think with the front wing, you could probably just do manual repair with that, right? You wouldn't have to take on the fast repair, but it is going to cost you time.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to. Man, I have no idea why he slowed up that much, because I just noticed DL Lemon went down, I think pit road speed 55. He slowed down to 35.
Took the whole rear wing off the 08, and there you saw back there on the left side of the screen, Eric Peterson get the pit wall.
It's almost like... I wonder if he forgot what his pit limiter button was.
Did I see maybe some damage on the right front wing of Will Roberts as well? I think he might have gotten into the back of High Song.
Yeah, High Song, basically, it caused a huge checkup. It looks like Will may have gotten just a little bit
High Song definitely got involved there. He got into the back of Peterson. The one really out of all that didn't get involved was Charles Teed.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you, he's probably sitting back there like, what in the world is going on? He's seeing like 2 of his cars get involved in accidents.
Taylor Jordan was ahead of all that. Comes back out as the leader, and looks like, at least for the moment, looks like Chris Stouffer may be out of the race. We'll follow up on that. Eric Peterson did take on a fast repair. So Craig Forsyth, and he had done manual repair. Will Roberts had already used his fast repair very early on in this race, but Eric Peterson, we saw clip the pit wall with the right front, he is now a fast repair in the hole, albeit going to be restarting in the 5th position behind Teed, Forsyth, Roberts, and race leader Taylor Jordan.
Honestly, I'm wondering, because of how he hit that pit wall, I'm wondering if Peterson damaged the suspension out of it. And it was telling him he had required repairs, and he just decided to burn the fast repair there.
Looks like it is confirmed. Chris Stouffer out of the race, so he will finish in 15th. He'll join McConnell, Wagner, and Joseph back in the garage area. Joseph Morales, I believe, took the wave around. So he is going to be back on the lead lap. Eric Schaus got the lucky dog. So 9 drivers on the lead lap of 14 that remain as we get ready to go back racing. We've run the first 100 laps here, getting ready for the final 100 laps this evening. Still 2 more pit stops these drivers have to make before the conclusion. This caution puts everybody now back on that same strategy of 20 laps short of making it to the finish. And as we go back green, I'm not necessarily certain that anybody was all that thrilled to see that caution, because we were talking about this during the break. it seemed like different drivers with different agendas in terms of fuel strategy. Taylor Jordan appeared to be gunning it and trying to get all the track position he could in preparation of maybe making that final pit stop at 20 to go, whereas Craig Forsyth, Eric Peterson, and others in that second pack, they were looking like they were going to try to maybe save enough that they would be able to get to the checkers on the 2 coming up pit stops.
Well, the only unfortunate part with that is with us getting the caution and going back green on lap basically 100, we're still in the same issue that we had before, which is we still have that 20-lap gap.
Will Roberts putting the pressure there on Craig Forsyth. He's looking for his second win on the season is Roberts. One back at the Magic Mob, New Hampshire, as that was really close there. I think there may have been a little contact. The back end of the 27 looked a little loose through the center of 3 and 4. Will Roberts taking no prisoners. Now he swings up to the outside line. Now, as we enter into the second half of this race, let's talk about something we haven't mentioned. A little bit of an addition here tonight for these F.A.R.T NDCar drivers, in the fact that we do have 2 overtime green-white checkered finishes available if we need them. The attempt to not have the race end under caution is the end goal there. Now, we've had some long green flag runs, so hopefully we don't have to use them, but those are viable options should they be necessary.
And if a green-white checker gets called, I mean, it's all bets are off. I mean, hey, it's a 3-lap, it's basically a 2 to 3 lap dash.
We've got, it looks like, 7 drivers up in this lead group. How about Brad Youngman in the 7th position at number 93? He's kept his nose clean all night long, stayed on the lead lap. He was about 9th position, I believe, when that caution came out. Now up here in 7th place and in the conversation maybe for a top 5. Brad coming into tonight at 3 previous starts, 2 finishes up inside of the top 10, might be en route for his best career finish if he keeps up what he's been able to do here in the first half of the race.
Absolutely. Just kind of look back in the pack here just a little bit. I'm noticing Eric Schaus kind of got caught with his second pack. He's not in that huge main pack. He's even one of those guys who are kind of jumping up and down, hoping for a caution. Same thing with, looks like, actually, no. It's really just Eric Schaus back there, so he's got to find a way to try to get back up to that lead pack to try and get some points.
Got Joseph Morales back here somewhere as well. There's Morales right behind him in the 60. Those 2 duking it out in the 8th position. Remember, Morales took the wave around, so he's about 2 laps shorter on fuel than everybody else. He was on pit road at the time the caution came out, so he might have been able to save his home, and contact there between Forsyth and Will Roberts. Roberts went all the way up to the wall, didn't hit the wall though. And that drops him from battling for the lead all the way back to the 6th, make that now 7th position. Again, the risk of do you pinch a car down with their possibility of pushing up, and I think that's what happened right there between the 27 and the 31.
Listen, I saw the 31 up there, and he was just kind of pinching down more and more and more. I think it finally got to the point where I don't think Will's exactly comfortable up there, but you got to look at it this way: is Will doesn't have a mulligan, and he's already burned his fast repair, so and he's kind of on that edge of, hey, he really needs to go out and get points. This could be a really good point stay for him.
Really could. Eric Schaus back there in 8th position, and the closest competitor to him in points that's on the racetrack is Will Roberts, 35 points back. So, yeah, big opportunity for Will to be able to close up that points lead in preparation for Homestead next week. Now Charles Teed up to the outside there. We saw Taylor Jordan making a move on Forsyth. Couldn't complete the pass. Teed now trying to get that number 5 to the race lead. Not going to be able to do it this time through 3 and 4. Craig Forsyth started this race from the pole. Led the first 15 laps. Got shuffled back. Has rode in the top 5 all night long. But now back up here towards the front. And maybe trying to be the Pied Piper here of the second half of this race.
Kind of looking here, and I can see Will Roberts kind of looking out, looking and looking and looking, and just, I don't know if he can't find a space where he's comfortable with, or if he doesn't know he has a run that he can take with it.
Now he has T to his outside, so kind of boxed in there. See if he can get clear on the 5, if he jumps back up to the outside of Forsyth here down the back straightaway. Got a good run. Ooh, boy, I thought for a moment he might have a lane on the inside. Forsyth was very quick to cut that off. I've actually noticed a couple of drivers trying to see if they can deep to the inside of Forsyth. Taylor Jordan did it a couple of laps ago going into turn 1.
I'm kind of in the boat of, hey guys, we've got 85 laps left. I don't know if I'd be kind of racing like this, especially with some of these guys not having fast repairs.
Oh, more contact again between the 27 and the 31. It sends them both up the racetrack, and Taylor Jordan says, thank you very much. He's going to go to the front. And I'm with you on this. I know that maybe what they're doing is kind of going to school so that way if they're in this type of a scenario late in the race, they know what their car is capable of doing. But there's a few drivers up here, they do not have a mulligan left. Their race could be over in the next corner if there's contact made.
Like I said, I understand trying to kind of gauge your run up through the field, but there's another thing of just kind of racing to race. And while it is fun, you just got to kind of do that mindset check of, hey, there's still a bigger picture here. There's still 184 laps left in this race. You kind of have to look at the writing on the wall and say, look, there's a lot bigger end goal here, other than just leading a lap.
Check back on the race within the race going on, and that would be for the Lucky Dog position. There are only 2 drivers that are in the running for the Lucky Dog should we get another caution. Najee Camargo, Brian Wright, both 1 lap down. There is Camargo. He is leading this second group, which also involves Eric Schaus and Joseph Morales.
Taylor
and we got
Jordan.
a caution.
Oh, Will Roberts. Oh, he is dead.
Oh, there's more. Oh, that second pack is piled in. Eric Schaus is in that. Youngman is upside down in the 93. Morales was in it as well.
Oh, my goodness.
Big hits taken there.
Oh,
another driver that I believe is also slow there on the front straightaway. That's Brian Wright. The 79, both drivers, I believe, that were battling for that Lucky Dog position, I think got involved.
We're going to have a lot to unpack here. There's a lot.
To look back at.
I think we should really kind of look back at what kicked this off, which was Will Roberts and Taylor Jordan.
This is going into turn 3. Jordan the leader, Roberts in second.
And it happened again. Well, it looks like Will just kind of mistook where he was on track, hit Taylor, and I don't know if he was trying to get out of his way, but man, he set up not Joseph Morales, he set up Brad Yoinkman just to get murdered on that bottom line.
You see both the front tires tethered to the front of Taylor Jordan, who was not able to drive it back to pit road. Car kind of got beached in the grass there on the front straightaway. And now we'll focus the camera on the 31 of Will Roberts, which this is race over for the New Hampshire winner. Just drove it in too deep there going into turn 3, and then, oh, there is Youngman. Sent him straight down into Najee Camargo's path.
I'd say watch the onboard from Yoinkman
right there in the center.
Because Yoinkman, he has to have one of the most interesting perspectives. He sees it kick all off, and then, hey, it's your job to then avoid it.
Both of the NASA cars were involved there, both Schaus and Brian Wright. Here's the onboard with the 93. Wow.
That's not a comforting sight.
And here's the thing too, the caution was out quite a ways before that. We saw Taylor Jordan up into the wall and the yellow lights were on. So plenty of time to slow, but we had a number of drivers just kind of come flying into that, including Youngman, Camargo, Brian Wright. So not sure why. I know obviously it's not an easy thing to slow a car down from 250 miles per hour down to 30 miles per hour in the blink of an eye, but it just kind of seemed like they were in this second group, so I would have thought they would have had enough time to be able to slow while entering into the vicinity of where the wreck was taking place.
Realistically, I think it was kind of at fault on both parties. It was Will kind of violated the unspoken driver's rule, which is be predictable. Yeah, you just were involved in an accident, but be predictable of what you're going to do. If it didn't look like Will knew whether he wanted to go to the bottom, if he wanted to stay up top, and kind of that late move is kind of what killed Yoinkman. But also, Yoinkman 100% could have checked up more. I mean, what in the world?
This has not been a great night for DL Lemon, but he's going to give us a really good look of how he was able to snake through all the carnage here out of turn number 4. There you see the impact of Yoinkman into Will Roberts. There's Morales up on the top. There's Wright on the left. There's Schaus on the right. There's Yoinkman upside down on the left, as well as Taylor Jordan. And DL Lemon just slides his way on past, and he's going to pick up a couple of positions, I think, after that incident. He's at least going to get Will Roberts for a spot. No way Roberts will be able to continue. I believe everybody else, I'll have to double check, did have their faster pair still available, but just like that, we had, what, about 75% of the field that still had their faster pair available? I'll be surprised if now we have any more than 50%, maybe less than 50% of the field that still have that mulligan available, and we still got 80 laps to go here at Auto Club. And look who's the leader after all this. Charles Teed going to be the one to bring us back to green.
He looks like he's in the best spot right now.
He does. Charles Teed. And very quiet here tonight until the last couple of laps. We saw him challenging Craig Forsyth for the top spot. And he was ahead of Craig Forsyth coming off of pit road. Now he is the control car, and he'll try to do what just about every leader has done here tonight. Hug that white line. Interesting with that caution coming out here, Matt, because we're going back green with 80 laps to go. That just gained them the 20 laps they were short. They should theoretically be able to make it now on one more pit stop.
That's the thing where I think, yeah, just that one stop, they should be able to make it to the end because they haven't been stopping exactly at that 40 mark. They've been able to go a little bit further than 40, so that lap, probably about 140 to 150-ish, that should be their final pit stop of the day.
Got some really good battles to follow up on here on this run. We've got the battle for the race lead, but we've also got the battle for the lucky dog positions. You see right there, second place, it looks like, between Taylor Jordan and Craig Forsyth, but we saw Taylor Jordan could not drive his race car back around, and he had to take the tow. That pass he just made puts him back on the tail end of the lead lap. He was in the lucky dog position, but if he can stay ahead of the lead lap cars right now, that then puts Brad Yoinkman into the lucky dog position in 8th place.
I'm kind of curious if you're Eric Schaus right now, because do you go for it? Is it late enough in the race where you can kind of throw that caution to the wind?
Honestly, with where I'm at, if I'm Eric Schaus, I'm happy to finish there. Right now, he's being scored in 3rd place. The next competitor, too, that was on the racetrack, Will Roberts, is going to finish 14th place here tonight. He's not getting back out on the racetrack, I don't think, or if he does, I don't think he's going to gain any more positions than where he is currently at. So you know, at least for the time being, that his spot is set in stone. You're going to finish up here at least in the vicinity of some of your other competitors like Craig Forsyth and Jeff Hysong. I think you don't force the issue. You big picture race here tonight.
I think for Forsyth, I'm in the boat where Forsyth should swing for the fences because right now he really needs to make some ground up.
Yes.
And how he's going to make that ground up.
But I think he needs wins.
Yeah, wins will get him back in this. But not saying that he's not going to get back in it naturally, but just with how Schaus is running, Forsyth needs that win to kind of aid him here. But what I'm also thinking about partially is that running with Schaus is one thing, but also outrunning him. But hey, force Schaus to do something maybe he's not very comfortable with. Force Schaus to be better where, hey, you still have that faster pair left. You can go do some dumb things here in the moment. If you want to go scare him because Eric is going to try and match you. And Eric's got a lot more to lose because he doesn't have that really mulligan.
A great point. And yeah, in the case of Craig Forsyth too, he's been consistent all year long. His worst finish is 8th place, but he did miss a race, and that's what's kind of put him behind the 8 ball. And going back to the point you were saying, Forsyth, it's not that he's had bad races. The problem is the rest of his competition haven't had bad races either, and it makes it difficult to be able to gain ground when you keep finishing in the same zip code as the driver you're trying to chase down for the points lead. Just had a lead change there. Forsyth was able to use the tail end of the lead lap car of Taylor Jordan to be able to get around Charles Teed. Teed trying to battle back there on the outside line. After all is said and done with what just took place there, our latest caution, Taylor Jordan running ahead of the leaders. We've got 7 drivers on the lead lap. 14 drivers still scored in the race, though 13 of them out on the racetrack. We had no lucky dog under that last caution. All drivers that would have been in the lucky dog position were involved in that wreck, so no driver got back in the lead lap via the free pass.
And that's kind of what's hurting. I'm looking at Sheridan Wade here in the field. Whoa, my goodness. Ooh, that's a high song almost tied to the hands of Wade.
Song in 5th place, Sheridan Wade 4 laps down in 12th. For a couple of these drivers, though, they were going to finish outside of the top 15, even though they are multiple laps down, some due to some mishaps on pit road, others due to having early crash damage. But DL Lemon, Sheridan Wade now, they're up inside of the top 15 in the finishing results at least. They're running in 12th and 13th. Being out there to be able to get those positions, get those points, but I think maybe even more so for a couple of those drivers. Yeah, they know they're not going to be in the conversation for the race win, but get out there, turn laps, continue to get experience, because with some of these other racetracks we've got coming up, it's still going to be close quarter racing. Next week at Homestead, Miami, a prime example, multi-groove racetrack, but I think that you're going to be able to throw a blanket over the lead pack there just as much as we've been able to here tonight at Auto Club.
And I'm seeing... So let me ask you this. Do you think we're going to get another caution here?
Maybe in preparation for that final round of pit stops, maybe, I think, but I don't know. I've seen a couple of things here on this run that have made me a little bit nervous, but I'm seeing quite a bit of room being given here in this lead pack. Not quite as much of an issue for us with them realizing they still have that one more trip to pit road. So I'm gonna wager on the side of no, at least not on this run prior to the pit stop.
I'm in the boat where if I'm my apologies. If I'm Charles Teed, if I'm Forsyth, if I'm Schaus, I'd be trying to get by that 802 because I need to lock him that 1 lap down. I need to force him to take that free pass. So if I force him to take that free pass, next restart, he is going to start tail end. He's going to have to fight through that traffic, and Schaus has lived that traffic back there, and it is tough to get by some of those guys. I think that's really what he needs to do here.
But I'm going to counter that just with an argument of if you do get around that 802 and put him a lap down, you're then the lead car. Do you get to that target lap of about 40 laps in this run? Because remember back when they had the first cycle green flag pit stops, Taylor Jordan, who led a majority of that run, was on pit road about 3-4 laps sooner than everybody else. It's a catch-22.
This is the point where I don't want to be a crew chief. Just tell me how fast I need to go. But I think here I would go for it because just the prospect of a caution coming out and him being able to basically get a free pass around and not having to start rear of the field, that's a bigger threat to me if I'm one of those top 3 cars.
Well, we've got a lot of lap cars intermingled with our lead lap cars, so let's take you through the field of your lead lap cars here, beginning with 5 of Charles Teed, second in line, but is the race leader, and Teed is looking for his first victory of the season. If we go back in the Dark Horse Racing Series, I think we've got to go back Oh, gracious. What was it? About 3, 4 seasons he had. Oh,
Caution's out.
caution.
Oh, Morales. It looks like Yoinkman's in it as well.
Arturo Mayorga.
And Carmago is... Yeah, it looks like he is beached.
Rear wing, rear suspension, rear wheels gone on the 59. The front suspension completely missing on the 12.
I think
And
that
there
took
is
away...
Morales on pit road as well.
I think that took away most of our lucky dog candidates.
That took away both of them. Brad Youngman is also on pit road. I believe he was caught up in this. It was Youngman and Camargo, I think, were the two that were battling for the lucky dog. And oh, gracious, what happens here? This is coming off a turn. We'll start off at turn 4. Watch the 59 of Camargo in the middle lane. He's going to come down behind the 12 of Arturo Mayorga, and
I don't know if he thought he was clear or if he
I
just
don't
didn't.
know.
If his car blended into the grass, but that was a very questionable move at worst.
So it looked like off of 4, like he was thinking about tucking down behind the 12, thinks better of it, turns back up the racetrack, and then turns back left again.
I feel bad for Joseph Morales. I mean, he was having a great run and just murdered.
Looking for his second straight top 5 at 2-mile racetracks, and oh, there you see Brad Youngman just got clipped at the very end.
I don't think he hurt anything on the car, but no.
I think he had to call a tow though.
No, it knocked the left rear out of the car, so it's done. It's done.
He's on board with Joseph Morales. He's up there against the wall. Watch right there. Nowhere to go as Camargo comes right up into his path. Morales, I think, still had a faster pair available, but is going to fall off the lead lap, as I do not believe he was able to drive that machine or back around to pit road. And for the second straight caution, there will not be a lucky dog, but you brought up you do not want to give Taylor Jordan an opportunity to get back on the lead lap. Well, he was ahead of the leader when that caution came out, so he will cycle all the way back around, get his lap back, and he will be restarting, looks like, in the 5th position. Now let's remember too, since he did not have to rely on the lucky dog, he will get to restart up ahead of all the lap machines rather than at the very tail end of the pack behind the lead lap and lap down cars. So that puts him right back on the doorstep of the race leaders.
And like I said, now I'm kind of in that position where I'm kicking myself of, man, I should have ended up trying to put him back a lap down.
You know what this does too? This puts us back to 20 laps short of making it.
Oh, the good news is it's gonna be one stop either way. But the problem is, when do you take your stop? We had the same conundrum in Great Lakes this week, where it was, hey, do you take it at the early part of your run? Do you take it at the late part of your run? Or do you try to just do something different? And we saw a lot of success of guys taking it way earlier in the run than taking it way late.
Yeah, there's about 3 different scenarios you could play out here, right? You could come to pit road as early as lap 160 and probably have enough fuel to make it to the end. You could come to pit road as late as lap 180 and then have that 20-lap run to the finish. Or you could split this final run in half. Maybe split it into 30-30. But you do have to account for the possibility of maybe those 2 overtime green-white checkers as well. So that could also sway you one way or the other in terms of what lap you're electing to make that final pit stop on. And then if a caution comes out, then, it may be all out the window. You could just be planning strategy, for the next 10 laps, and then, well, now we're going to do this instead.
Yeah, this is going to be an adventure, because realistically, anything you do here is there is risk in anything that you're going to do. Either you come early or you stay out late. Because if you stay out later, you're going to start losing time. But if you come in early, hey, that caution can come bite you real fast.
Greg Forsyth going to lead us back to green. We've only had one driver this season win the race from the pole, and it was at the sister track, Michigan. J.W. Miller went coast to coast. Forsyth trying to do that here tonight as Teed got a great jump. He's going to try and look to the outside line here, but not enough momentum to be able to complete that pass. Eric Peterson there in third, Jeff Hysong fourth, Taylor Jordan back up here on the lead lap in fifth, and Eric Schaus in sixth. That's it. That's your lead lap cars for right now. Brian Wright is the only driver one lap down. He would be the lucky dog if he doesn't get involved in a wreck that would bring out a yellow.
Yeah, and Forsyth and T were just going at it where I think it's a time where I can see a little bit less given.
Lemon continuing to pick the bones of those that are on back to the garage area. He just picked up a spot on Brad Youngman, who is out of the race. Joseph Morales, he will pass him in the next lap and move up to 11th place. So that leaves us with a total of 8 drivers back in the garage areas. I'm with you. I don't see a lot of give being given. You see Teed a little out of shape
by the way,
on the top side. Will make
he's
that
here.
Taylor Jordan was 3 wide.
He's here.
He's here. Looking for his second win on the season is Taylor Jordan. Went to victory lane at the last Speedway race 3 weeks ago at the Tricky Triangle of Pocono.
Oh, and Teed and Forsyth look like the two kind of sketchiest cars on those bottom, because I don't know if Forsyth's going to hold it there on that bottom line, and Teed keeps pinching down.
Out of the 6 drivers on the lead lap, half of them have used their fast repairs, that being Taylor Jordan, Eric Peterson, and Eric Schaus, so they cannot afford to get involved in another incident. Maybe that's why we're seeing Teed and Forsyth mix it up as hard as they are. They know that we're getting close to that 50 laps to go mark, and they're trying to be the race leader when we enter into that final pit stop vicinity.
Yeah, and then the next biggest thing is how aggressive do you take that pit road entry? And yeah. I'm in the boat of we're running this very aggressively. Like, we're locking it up coming to pit road, just because that 1 or 2 seconds can mean all the difference.
When you look at the drivers up here, their position in the standings, Forsyth and Taylor Jordan, they're right now tied for 4th. Charles Teed is 7th. So a big night here tonight. A victory can put you right up there in the conversation to battle for the points lead. If you look at the driver that's got the least amount to lose and everything to gain, I think you'd have to look at that 5 car if you're looking at someone that's really going to force the issue as far as the pit road entry is concerned to try and gain that track position.
Just look back further in the field. So what do you take of someone like Eric Schaus? Where, hey, you're P6 at the moment, you don't have that fast repair. Really, there's only 3 guys up here in this top 6 that haven't taken a fast repair, which is Forsyth, Teed, and Hysong, which I'm surprised Hysong hasn't taken his yet.
Well, Hysong, I don't think has been involved in a
pit road incident.
Tonight. Oh, that's right.
And he hit him pretty hard. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he got most of it fixed just naturally as see Taylor Jordan start falling back here.
I think he and Forsyth both went with just the manual repair on their front wing, so... And it hasn't really seemed to affect his speed at all.
And it's
going back to your question there about Schaus, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like I would want to do the opposite of whatever the others around me are doing. The reason being, if I cycle out and I'm all by myself, yeah, that's not exactly ideal, but I'm running 5th position out of 6 cars right now. The worst I'm probably going to finish, if things continue the way they are, is 6th place. So, I'm either going to finish the furthest back that it's possible, or I'm going to net maybe 1 or 2 extra positions. But the key thing is, I'm not going to have a lot of hard racing around me, putting me in a position where, already having used my fast repair, I might end up DNFing and then finishing lower than that 6th place buffer. I know it may not be the race-winning strategy, but it's the big picture racing strategy. I want to keep and preserve this points lead, and if possible, extend it.
You're really gonna tell a racer he does when he shouldn't
See,
race?
that's the thing. It's so easy for me up here in the booth. I'm not wearing the helmet.
I
I'm
mean, he's
not
just
gunning for
pushing
that
three
checkered
wide,
flag.
so I mean.
Yeah, that's why, again, that's why we're not the crew chiefs. We can sputter all the strategy we want to up here, but that driver could care less about strategy. They just want to get whatever's going to get them to the line first.
I mean, I've done it before, but they don't tend to listen. They more or less say, okay. It's almost like you take it as a challenge. You tell them, like, hey, you probably shouldn't try to get up. Oh, no, Forsyth!
Whoa!
He did the same thing that Stouffer did. Got way low on the track and just stepped out.
Great job not spinning out. That was not the case for Chris Stouffer earlier on tonight, but that lost a ton of momentum for Forsyth and track position. He is going to be able to tuck in there behind, who is that? It's Jeff Hysong. They should be able to draft back up to this top four, but that could have been a lot worse for the pole sitter.
Yeah, what you're going to see him do, we're going to do that leapfrogging strategy where one's going to jump ahead, the other one's going to jump ahead, and they're going to slowly get back up there. But they're going to waste a lot of time doing it. It's almost. Whoa.
We are beating and banging up here. We're 3 wide down the back straightaway for the lead between Teed, Peterson, and Schaus. And a bounce from Schaus off of Teed up into Peterson. We nearly end up having our top 3 on the hook there going into turn 3. In the case of these guys up here, tremendous credit to them because it was kind of like a last-minute reaction of us seeing Charles Teed out of shape there into turn 1. Easily, any of those drivers could have run him over, but able to give him the space to recover, did not make contact. That could have been a lot worse for everybody up inside of this lead group.
I will say the one guy who has to be scratching his head here at the moment has to be Jeff Hysong. I mean, he just seen all this stuff happen and is like, what in the world is going on?
Charles Teed might have been a bit confused too. Like, how did this lead land in my lap?
Yeah, like I said, it works out, but you got to think, when are you coming in for that pit stop?
Yeah, as of right now, we're
I
going to
think
be
your
about
window
7 laps away from
opens.
the window opening.
No, I think your window opens now. You can reasonably go about 45 if you have help. It's not going to be a comfortable 45, but it will be a 45-ish if you have help.
And does that include if you're doing the slingshot strategy?
I doubt that. That's what I'm getting iffy on.
Let's see what these drivers might be strategizing here. Up here in this lead group, we've only got 2 former winners from the season. Taylor Jordan and Eric Schaus. Teed, Peterson, Forsyth, and Hysong are all looking for their first victory on the year. All have had very consistent, very strong seasons. They just have yet to get that one in the win column. As inching down there off of turn 2 is Taylor Jordan to Charles Teed, and look at this. He gets a bit of a bubble push from Eric Peterson in the middle. Forsyth trying to get to the inside there and help Charles Teed, and that was close there between the 5 and the 802 through 3 and 4.
Like I said, I think we're getting, oh my goodness, we're getting to the point where someone is either going to get turned or we're going to have amazing racing.
Taylor Jordan has already been up and into the outside wall on the caution prior to the last one. Had to take on his faster pair as a result, so I'm not necessarily certain just how much pinching I would do because there's nobody between me and that outside wall if contact is made.
I'm in the point of, it looks like Jeff Hysong's kind of in that point too of, hey, we're just going to go for broke here. And main thing is, don't wreck the car. Make sure we get a finish.
One driver has already dove onto pit road, and that is Sheridan Wade, who is already multiple laps down, and I think he might have gotten hit by the speeding police yet again. Yeah, I think he has, and no, man, that's a tough break there for Sheridan Wade, who will, looks like now finish back in 11th place, last of the drivers running. But that probably was an indication, though, like you said, that the fuel window is open to make it the rest of the way. We'll see if any of our lead drivers like to come to pit road or if they're going to wait until the last possible moment, which will probably be somewhere in the vicinity of about 20 laps to go. Maybe even 15 to go. If you said that 47 laps is maybe a a viable number for them to be able to make it. That's an extra 7 laps, so may not see them on pit road until somewhere around lap 182, 183.
You've got to always be prepping for that caution, though, because you know it can just come out of nowhere, and especially how hard these guys are racing. It's part of the fact of, for these guys, they may not interpret this as hard racing just because they've raced around each other for so long. They know the kind of limits. It's one of those things of, you know who you're racing against. You have confidence of who you're racing against. You know what they're going to do. And that makes you kind of more prone to say, okay, well, normally I'd give that guy maybe a car length and a half kind of space before I pinch him. Well, since it's Charles Teed, I mean, I know him. I'm going to drive him down to that half a car length because I know he can hold it.
So looking at 4-tire pit stops, you're looking roughly about 7 to 7.5 seconds that you're going to spend in your box. If you stretch it as far as you could possibly go, let's round it to about 20 laps to go. That's about half a fuel run, so you're only going to need half fuel capacity to get to the checkered flag. So roughly about maybe 3.5 seconds in your box if you do something like that. Do you maybe consider not taking on tires, just doing fuel only on this pit stop? Would that 3.5 seconds gain you anything, even though you're going to have older rubber?
Well, we saw with Wade that technically that no tire strategy could work, but I like the versatility of having those tires. Plus, you got to think pit road exit, where if we're already having trouble at higher speeds maintaining that bottom. I mean, what is your pit road exit going to look like? You're already having to go about 150, 160 to make sure you don't wreck the car. I can't even imagine how it feels on old tires.
And is that 7.5 seconds, is that both the tire change and the fueling up the car, or is it quicker, the tire change to the fueling?
To my knowledge, at least how it was in the old car, you were really waiting on fuel.
Okay.
But I don't know how it is in a new car. I really don't know if tires are in fact longer.
Yeah, because if you could maybe have the tires changed in that 3.5 seconds, then maybe it is worth the risk of putting those tires on.
Maybe it's just depending on how much fuel you're putting in the car.
Right.
Where if you're only putting like a splash in the car because you just need to make it those last few laps, I mean, I could see it being a lot quicker just skipping tires out of that, but you're definitely going to have a little bit harder of a life for the next, however many laps you run.
Sheridan Wade has gone back to the garage area, so he will officially finish in 11th position here tonight. 18 drivers took the green flag to start this evening. 10 remain on the racetrack, and 6 all up here in this lead pack, all nose to tail, are on the lead lap in the conversation from this race win. The battle between Teed and Taylor Jordan. Back to 6th place, Eric Schaus. Less than 40 laps to go here, and still one more pit stop looming. At this point in time, if the caution were to come out, then strategy would be a moot point. Everybody would be on pit road and be able to make it the rest of the scheduled distance. But we're still waiting to see what side of the strategy drivers are going to be on. We kind of passed the strategy of coming to pit road as soon as the fuel window is open. Doesn't look like any of our top 6 elected that. We are now closing in on where if they were planning on splitting the final run, that'd be in about the next 5 laps or so. So we'll see if anybody elects to dive onto pit road and then run out the final 30 laps.
Well, here's how I'm thinking. Like, the undercut isn't stronger because effectively you're not gaining a whole ton of speed. And honestly, if you're doing the undercut and you're pitting alone, you're going to be at a worse position than you are now in draft. So I'm kind of the herd mentality of when everyone else decides to come down, that's probably when I'm coming down.
Yeah, if you didn't join us during around the first half, the middle portion of this race, we had some drivers that were in fuel save mode in preparing for this thing going green to the end. And we saw most of them running around the 30-second 2/10 mark. Nobody is saving now. That last time by, your top 6 all ran in the high 29s, now in the low 30s. So they are gunning these cars for all they are worth right now in preparation for that final pit stop.
Yeah, and I'm just... It's kind of the waiting game. You're sitting here in anxiety. You feel it coming, and you know that, hey, a caution can come out at any moment. And that just changes the whole game.
You want to maybe do something that other drivers are not expecting, but at the same time, we saw a driver say they were coming to pit road and get a tap from behind via gap whack and ended up taking them out of the race. That was Christopher. So how long do you wait before you indicate to everybody else around you that I'm coming to pit road?
It's I would wait for as late as possible, to be perfectly honest, just trying to give people less time to plan. But realistically, with how big Auto Club is, I think by the time you reach there, it's already too late.
We've got a lap car, Najee Camargo, who is right behind the top 6. He could be the proverbial X factor in all of this. Could be a drafting partner for somebody to try and work their way up to the front, which now is in command of Taylor Jordan. He was able to get to the inside of Charles Teed, although Teed has been out in front for a good portion of this run, might have actually decided to let Jordan on by and tuck in line. This was the same scene that we saw about 50 laps ago, but the difference was Taylor Jordan was on the tail end of the lead lap and Charles Teed was the leader at that point in time. That caution coming out definitely changed the fortunes of Taylor Jordan, who now is going to, maybe more than likely, unless something changes here in the next 10 or 15 laps, he will be the leader when this final round of green flag pit stops begin. Now, nobody in this group has been hit by the speeding police. However, Eric Schaus, let's not forget, he did miss pit road. Had to go all the way back around, then finally make his pit stop, had to rely on a lucky dog to get back on the lead lap. So just because these drivers up here, they've been able to, up to this point, execute on pit road, doesn't mean that they're safe just yet.
Man, they're all
around the top. Whoa, it wasn't clear. Whoa.
I'm in the boat of, man, I don't know if we're going to have those green flag pit stops. I mean,
we might not. We're 3 wide here to the line. Visibly, I think that was Teed that led the lap over Forsyth and Taylor Jordan. I thought for a moment there that Taylor Jordan might have been backing out. I think he backed out right there. I thought he was backing out down the back straightaway. I think Forsyth thought the same thing. He just couldn't get himself clear across the front wing of Jordan.
I think we're cutting it closer and closer every lap, but I mean, you got to think we've got 25 laps left. A little bit of that haste is out the door now because, you know, hey, we're reaching the end of our fuel run, and if that caution's going to come out, it's going to come out soon.
This is very much like super speedway racing, and what we're seeing here, drivers setting themselves up for the upcoming pit stops. That 1 or 2 extra positions you gain on the racetrack could translate to you being the race leader once everything cycles around, if the pit stops indeed, the final pit stop is going to take place under green. Forsyth back to the lead, Teed into second, side by side for third between Jordan on the top and Highsong on the bottom. I really think we got to look back there at Highsong, Eric Peterson, Eric Schaus, because they've been running third, or make that 4th, 5th, and 6th here the entirety of this run. They could make it probably a little bit further on fuel than these other 3 that have been mixing it up for the race lead.
I don't even know if that would really help in person, to be perfectly honest. I just don't see any advantage at the moment not coming in with a group besides, you know, like the kind of congestion on pit road. But I mean, there's really no advantage in my mind to doing an undercut, to staying out longer. I mean, really the only thing you're doing is improving your chances that a caution will come out and hopefully being able to pit under caution instead of having to pit under brake.
Well, this is the 2nd longest race of the season, 400 miles here under the lights at Auto Club Speedway, second only to the season finale, the 500-miler at Indianapolis. This is the race that's going to end off the first half of the season here. Drivers will begin the second half of the season next week at Homestead Miami Speedway next Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got nearly 20 laps left to settle this thing out. Very low on the racetrack there was Taylor Jordan. He didn't really have to run that low. Nobody else ran that low as if they were going to mount a challenge. Forsyth was about a half groove higher. Teed was a full groove higher. He was so low it almost made me wonder if he was going to be diving onto pit road that lap. So we'll see if this is maybe an indication of the 802 at some point having the hand out the arrow screen and saying, hey, I'm diving onto pit road. I'm trying to figure out between him, Forsyth, and Teed who has led the most here on this run to figure out who would have to be that first one to make the dive.
I'm just looking at this. I'm just trying to factor in what this last lap will look like if we have all five, 6 cars up here.
One car leaving the vicinity of a wrecked corner.
It's either going to be one car leaving that giant wad of cars, or it's going to be like a 4-wide finish.
These drivers, they have been testing the waters of maybe bringing out another caution. Up, Teed on pit road, as is Taylor Jordan. Here we go. The money stop.
Man, I think those two took it a little bit too gingerly, at least in my opinion, but it's going to wait to be seen. And Forsyth's coming in this lap.
4 cautions here tonight. How about that? 26 lead changes here this evening. They have been shuffling back and forth for that top position all night long. Here comes the 27 onto pit road. Nobody else coming down. He is going to have the 59 Camargo, who is going to clip the pit wall.
Uh-oh.
Rear.
I think he sped.
Forsyth?
I think Forsyth sped. He hit the line at 78.
Oh, boy.
So it's going to be a wait-and-see kind of moment here.
We'll wait and see if indeed he was speeding. It looked like Charles Teed, he was good to go. Taylor Jordan was good to go.
Peterson barely makes it. I think he may have sped, though.
He's in with Isong, and yes, Forsyth speeding for the 27. So the pole sitter will not go coast to coast here tonight.
So, fun fact, I think Peterson sped as well. 93 when he hit the line.
We'll see here. We'll see if the pit stop time eclipses 7 seconds, as here's Eric Schaus onto pit road, and yep, Peterson also hit with the speeding penalty. So just like that, 6 goes down to potentially 4. Schaus hits pit road, and
well, about that,
cycle out to the lead. Maybe Jeff Hisong?
So about that, I think Schaus may have sped as well.
Oh boy.
He did hit the line at 62, and he did slow it down all the way to 45.
Nope, briefly. He was good. Schaus was good.
And that's a big thing is if you do come in a little bit fast, you do have that little bit of a window to slow it down slower than pit road speed or even out the times. And really what you're trying to do is, hey, yeah, I did go 5 miles an hour faster here on entry, but I did give up 7 miles an hour here in a different sector where it kind of evens out, doesn't tag you for speeding.
Schaus comes out with the lead, but he's not up to speed. There goes Taylor Jordan and Jeff Hisong around him. And there it is. These are the 3 drivers, unless we get a yellow, that are probably going to settle this thing out. Jeff Hisong, the lone driver in this trio that has yet to go to victory lane this season. He's been very consistent, trying to see if he can capture that first checkered flag. Jordan and Schaus, they're both looking for their 2nd on the year.
I mean, you got to remember what really Hisong's kind of fighting for. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Hisong doesn't have a win in this series,
I don't think he does. He's also coming off a bit of a momentum slide from last time out at Road America, where he dropped 3 spots in the point standings. He was 3rd in points going into that Road America race and comes into tonight's race in 6th. The guys that he's battling right now have won the last 2 races on the season. Schaus back at Road America, and then the week prior, Taylor Jordan at Pocono.
Yeah, no, so I just checked. Hisong has never won a race. He has 3 runner-up finishes, which all, to my knowledge, were last season. So,
now, one driver who also did not speed, but he also did not get up to speed with this group is Charles Teed. He is all the way back here by his lonesome in the 4th position, last car on the lead lap. He's going to need a caution to be able to get back into this thing, as Eric Schaus just made the pass there on Taylor Jordan, put him back out in front. So get rid of everything I just said about big picture racing. He's gunning for that checkered flag here tonight. Craig Forsyth, after his speeding penalty, he is 1 lap down in 5th. He is the only driver in position for a lucky dog should we get a caution. Peterson dropped 2 laps in the 6th position.
I'm in the boat where I really think whoever is in P3 on that final lap is going to have the best run. He's going to have the best advantage coming to the finish. And I really think it's also going to turn into who's hungrier for it, which is who has more to lose, or more or less who's willing to back out if it comes to blows. And I think realistically, Eric Schaus is the one I could see folding if it really did come to, hey, who's going to win? And we're all going to wreck if someone doesn't lift.
Well, Eric Schaus and Taylor Jordan, their statistics almost mimic each other. Both of them with a victory, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s. Jeff Hysong, 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s, so he's ahead of them in the top 10 category, but has the goose egg in the win column. So to your point, who wants it more? Does Eric Schaus want it the most to be able to extend his points lead? Does Taylor Jordan want it more to join J.W. Miller as a multi-time winner on the season and close up that points gap heading into the second half of the season? Or does Jeff Hysong want that first checkered flag of his Dark Horse Racing Series career? He is right now that 3rd car in line you were talking about. That's probably where you'd want to be. But what's going on here with Jordan and Hysong running up on the outside line? They almost ran the wall there through 3 and 4. They're losing a bit of ground to Eric Schaus. What is the strategy going on right now? Are they trying to build a gap?
Yeah, you're trying to build a gap because you're going to end up trying to get the biggest run on this man going into the last few laps. Because here's the thing. If you can make a giant run. Now, I don't like what they're doing right now. I don't like how much they're backing off. I don't think this is a good idea. But keeping yourself within that, 0.5, 0.7 range, and at least leaving yourself enough of that gap to get a good run, that's what I'm looking for here. Because, oh my goodness, Hysong almost lost it. And and Taylor got the wall.
Yes, he did. You could see the sparks flaring off of the right rear. Taylor Jordan.
So this is the moment I'm really worried because, hey, we just basically let Schaus walk with a 1 second lead here.
8 laps to go as Eric Schaus crosses the line. He's looking for back-to-back victories. We had the off week in between, but in terms of green flags taken, it would be the 2nd straight victory for Eric Schaus. And you see him, he noticed what's going on. You saw him really low there on the back straightaway, trying to break any opportunity for 2nd place. Jeff Hysong to be able to get even a sniff of draft, be able to utilize that slipstream and get a run going into turn 3.
That's it. I like what Hysong's doing because Hysong's just saying, hey, look, I'm going to make a run here. But, I mean, look at how much ground he gained up in that 1 lap. And look at how far back Taylor Jordan is. I think he's gonna have a massive run on that last lap.
I was going to say, they were running side by side right there, which stalls out the momentum of both drivers. That could have been a perfect opportunity for Taylor Jordan to be able to make a move. When is too late? Like, you talk about making the move on the final lap, but do you have to make it into turn 1 and then defend for half a lap? Do you wait until going into turn 3 and hope it sticks?
Realistically, I think you need to make the move out of 2 and then have the good run, or at least kind of get there out of 2. Use the back straightaway as a run, and you should be able to make it work in 3. We've seen that all race. Now, here's the big question. You really got to pinch that guy on the inside. How much is he pushing you up the track?
Going to be some good points nights for some drivers, despite the fact that they're not going to quite get the finishes of where they were running most of the night. Charles Teed in that 4th position, last car on the lead lap. Eric Peterson right now in the 6th position. And how about Brian Wright and Arturo Mayorga? We're wondering about Arturo coming into this race after we saw his talents on the road course at Road America a couple of weeks ago. He ran into some issues there, but he is going to soldier on and finish in the top 10. And Brian Wright here this evening started this race from 17th place. If things finish where he's at, he will have gained 10 spots here tonight. Albeit 3 laps down, he was involved in a wreck, was not able to make it back to pit road, had to call for a tow, and that's why he fell off the lead lap. But good run for him here tonight in what I believe is his first start on the season. And no, it's actually, I'm sorry, that's his 3rd start on the season, but going to be by far his best finish of his career, as he did not have a top 10 coming into tonight. 3 to go.
3
6 miles
laps.
left, maybe.
I'm in that boat of this can either end really badly on the last lap, or this is going to end up really well. And looking how much Eric Schaus is blocking, I think this is going to end up really badly.
Well, let's also remember that we've already documented about the 2 available green-white checkers, but if they get around to the white flag, we race back to the checkers. There will be no overtime. 2 laps to go here. Can they traverse this final 2 miles, get the white flag in the air? I'm watching that gap back there, Taylor Jordan. It's about 0.7 of a second right now. Can he close it up in time? Haisung's not gotten alongside of Eric Schaus. They haven't stalled each other out just yet.
Nope, it's go time. He's going to get up there here. I'm thinking by the end of turn 2 or maybe in the entry of 3. But Haisung's going to be in a really rough spot here.
Here we go. White flag is in the air. Who's bringing home the trophy? Who's bringing home the steering wheel? Haisung about a groove higher there through 1 and 2, trying to get the run down the back straightaway. Here comes Taylor Jordan, looking low on Haisung. Contact. Little contact more. He's going to go to the top side on Eric Schaus. Haisung, he's going to make it 3. Taylor Jordan's going to clear. Schaus trying to make a move on the top. Taylor Jordan timed it perfectly off of 2. You called the play, Matt, and he executed it. Taylor Jordan hangs on to get his 2nd win on the season.
He was there out of 2, and in the 3, he was gone.
How did he find a lane? They kind of had him boxed in. I don't know how he made room to the top going into 3.
That's the big thing where, looking back at that, it was the fact that he got such a run and Haisung got a terrible, terrible entry into really 1 where Haisung was struggling and he was trying his best to block. It was just the fact that Jordan went all the way down low, touched wheels with Haisung, but it didn't stop his momentum at all. And he was not fast enough to lock him behind Schaus. So at that point, when he got beside Schaus, Schaus didn't have the run. Haisung couldn't match him. It was game.
Taylor Jordan waltzed away with his first victory, led 49 of the 100 laps at Pocono, and finished about 0.7 of a second over Craig Forsyth for that victory. Here tonight, your top 3 finished within less than 0.4 of a second of each other. Official scoring has it Jordan over Schaus by 31 thousandths.
Like I said, that was 200 laps, and it came down to the final turn.
Let's go back and let's relive that final lap from turn 1 to the checkered flag and see the masterful work of Taylor Jordan. Honestly, I thought he was too far back to be able to get the run like he did. I thought maybe he could catch up and maybe make a move over into turn 3. But the way he was able to close up so much distance right here through 1 and 2 is amazing. Now, here's where I thought he'd lost it. Contact between himself and Haisung, and he just barely clears across the front wing of Haisung to get to the outside of Schaus. And you see the contact there between Schaus and Jordan and Haisung. How all 3 made it back to the line is an amazing thing in and of itself.
And I really don't think that contact with Haisung with Schaus, that really affected Schaus in any way. You did see the car kind of drop back a little bit, but even if he had that extra momentum, he would have caught Jordan in a much worse place in the corner, and he would have pulled out, and I think he would have lost more momentum.
What a finish here tonight to close out the first half of the season at Auto Club. Here are the finishing results. Here's your survivors here tonight. 10 drivers finish out this evening's festivities, 4 of them on the lead lap. We had about 4 or 5 cautions. We had about 3 rounds of green flag pit stops. A little bit of everything here tonight. And Taylor Jordan picks up that victory. Schaus will finish in 2nd. Wanted that checkered flag, but it's going to be a good points night for the points leader heading into the second half of the season. Jeff Haisung brings it home in 3rd. Another podium finish for him. Teed, last driver to finish on the lead lap, in 4th. And Craig Forsyth, after starting on the pole position, brings it home in the top 5 and 5th. Eric Peterson was 6th. Brian Wright in 7th. Arturo Mayoga in his 2nd start, 8th place this evening. Naja Camargo and D.L. Lemon going to complete the top 10 As we cycle through the remainder of the results here, a couple of drivers that kind of stand out. Big one there in Will Roberts, was third in points coming into tonight. Had a chance to maybe close up the points gap between himself and Eric Schaus. He'll more than likely bypass J.W. Miller, but this was a night I think the 31 team really needed to capitalize on.
And this really will help him get back, or at least I think it really will help Taylor Jordan get right back in to that conversation if he keeps having runs like this. Because you got to think, we're going into Homestead next week. We're going into Texas after that. And these are very similar tracks. Maybe not so much Homestead as it is Texas, but these are very similar tracks for his car. And I could see him just ratting off 3 wins.
We're whittling down the distance. His first win, 2.5 mile speedway at Pocono. Tonight, 2 mile speedway at Auto Club. And next week, we go to a 1.5 mile racetrack. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pick up his 3rd victory in 4 races. We'll be talking to him down in Victory Lane in just a moment, but we're going to also dial up the rest of the podium finishers. All 3 drivers that were in the mix on that final lap will get the different perspectives from each one. And let's kick things off with the guy who brings it home in 3rd place here tonight, Jeff Hysong. Hey, Jeff, it's Matthew and Seth up here in the F.A.R.T booth. You got us?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Well, I'll bet it's taken a little bit of time for you to get the adrenaline settled down after what we just saw in that final 2 miles to the checkered flag. In that conversation for the race win, we saw beating, we saw banging, we saw some sparks flying. You all make it back, but describe what was going on mentally, physically, emotionally inside the cockpit of that 18 after the white flag was displayed.
I knew what was going on in 3rd because I kind of had the same idea. I was just getting too impatient waiting back there and watching Schaus get out in front of us. So I was just going to try and play it from 2nd and see how it went. But I just couldn't get the car down fast enough coming off of 2, and that opened the door, and the rest is history. But yeah, long race and definitely exciting at times.
So I've got to ask you, when you're on that back straightaway and Jordan was right beside you, do you think he had you cleared, or did you think you could just barely block him and lock him behind Schaus on the back straight?
The plan, as soon as he went below me, I kind of felt like he was low, so I went lower and tried to pick up the draft to Schaus, and that's kind of when we came together, and he came out of it on the faster end of it, and so he got the better end of the deal.
You know, one reason why you were up in the conversation for this victory, you ran a very clean race and you executed well on pit road. We saw that as a big Achilles heel for a lot of the drivers that were running up inside of the top 5 pretty much all night long. What was there that you had for a strategy that allowed you to be able to safely enter onto pit road, exit off of pit road? Because we knew that was going to be a bit of a trouble spot for drivers tonight.
In seasons past, that's been my Achilles heel, so I've really tried to work on it when I can. And yeah, I just had to hit my braking points, and I knew if I did that, my pit road exit was pretty good compared to some guys in practice. So yeah, as soon as I made my last box, I came out right there at the front, so I knew we were going to have a fighting chance to the end.
Well, extremely consistent here tonight. You started 3rd, you bring it home 3rd for yet another podium finish here this evening. Congratulations on a job well done. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Congratulations to the guys, the podium, Schaus, and I think it was Taylor that won. My mind's still racing from that one. Big shout out to the family, my son in California, you guys for such a great job on the broadcast, and all the fans watching.
That's Jeff Hysong, 3rd place here tonight under the lights at Auto Club Speedway. Congratulations on a great performance. Best of luck next week as we kick off the second half of the season at Homestead.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Let's see if we can get our 2nd place finisher. I remember that in broadcast past, unfortunately, Taylor Jordan does not have a microphone, so I don't think we're going to be able to get an interview with our race winner. Let's dial up the driver that came in. The points leader is going to leave the points leader after the runner-up finish here tonight, Eric Schaus. Hey, Eric, Matthew and Seth up here in the F.A.R.T booth. You got us?
Hi, gentlemen.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, a bit of a comeback night for you. Had an incident coming onto pit road for one of those rounds of green flag pit stops. Luckily, you didn't get the pit wall, but you're on the wrong side of it. Caution comes out, you get back in the lead lap, back into this fight, and you had a dogfight on your hands there on the final lap, but you were the lead car. How difficult was it trying to prepare for blocks to keep those two cars behind you?
Yeah, I figured I was kind of sitting duck up there. I figured out about 10 laps before that third had a really good shot at taking the lead if they timed it right. But at the same time, I didn't want to risk sitting back there and get blocked or something like that. So it was really me just hoping and praying that Jeff might get in the way. But, Jordan did a good job shooting it under there and getting through.
Yeah, so walk me through your reaction there on the last lap, because you're driving out of two. You've got Haisung behind you. Haisung had a terrible terrible entry in the one, terrible exit out of two. And then suddenly in the three, you're side by side / behind Taylor Jordan. It's like, what in the world?
Yeah, I saw it coming from a long way back. I figured that's what those guys were setting up. And there really wasn't a whole lot I could do. I mean, I was just holding the bottom line. If I had gone up any, I think he would have shot under me and he would have had even bigger chance of getting around me. So kind of just sitting duck, had to hold the low line and hope.
We were up here talking, with us having the comfort of the booth, we're able to throw around numbers, throw around scenarios. We don't have the helmet on. We're not out there racing double wide, 3 wide at over 200 miles per hour. But in that final stint, at any point, was managing the points gap, just making sure you brought this thing home in one piece to be able to keep that points lead going into Homestead next week. Did that in any time enter your mind?
Oh, yeah. This whole season, that's been my one and only goal. Just keep it clean and get podiums. I don't really care about the wins right now. I think I've already had one win this season. I'm happy with that. The whole thing here is just bringing it home for the championship.
Well, it was a thrilling finish here tonight. Another great run for you here. Going to continue to extend that points lead, I do believe, heading into Homestead next week. We got that second half of the season left to go before we finish things off at Indianapolis, and certainly looking like the consistency is there for the 72 to try and definitely be a contender for that championship at season's end. Eric, congratulations on the second place run here tonight at Auto Club. Before we let you go, we're giving the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
Yeah, thank you guys for the broadcast. Thanks to Dark Horse for putting on this league, and thanks to anybody out there watching.
Eric Schaus, second place here tonight under the lights at Auto Club Speedway. He'll look to continue this momentum heading into Homestead, Miami next week. Best of luck.
Thank you.
And once again, congratulations to Taylor Jordan on his victory here tonight. Second win on the season. Second win in 3 races for driver of the 802. He's also a driver that has had a lot of consistency since he burst on the scene here in the F.A.R.T NDCar series. But Matt, we've got the first half of the season now under our belts. We've kind of got an idea of the drivers that are front and center. We've got those underlying drivers that could certainly make a charge in the second half of the season. But you mentioned it early on tonight. Lot of challenging tracks on the horizon.
Absolutely. And it may not seem challenging, but it kind of goes for various things, because we're looking at the schedule ahead. So we go to Homestead, Miami. Homestead, Miami is going to be a little bit more banked than we have now. It's going to be a little bit more narrow, but we're still going to see the same amount of racing. It's going to be a little bit more difficult on pit road. Then we go to Texas, and Texas is basically a bigger banked version of really what we did tonight. But the problem is, I mean, that is a very wide track, and it's very bottom feeding. So it's going to be a race to the bottom more aggressively than we see tonight. Then we go on to Gateway. And we go on the Gateway, and Gateway is going to be it's been a nightmare in past seasons, and especially with these cars, with it being a flat track and being so aero and draft dependent, that's going to be just another challenge. And then we get to Daytona, and Daytona is going to, Daytona is Daytona.
Daytona's Daytona. What more do you say?
Then we go on to Kentucky, and then we go on to the Grand Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that is always a blast.
point standings are in. Taylor Jordan, with this victory, jumps up to second in points. He's only 27 points behind Eric Schaus. Going to be fun to watch those two duke it out here in the second half of the season. Craig Forsyth and Jeff Heisung, they're right there in the conversation, 46 and 47 points out. And Charles T jumps up a couple of spots tonight as well, fifth in points, 54 points out, heading into Homestead next week. So it's going to be really interesting down, I guess we could call this the home stretch now of the season, heading towards Indianapolis, that season finale of who else is going to enter into that conversation. Just one victory could put you from outside of the top 5 up into the championship conversation. So we'll see if someone's able to do that when these drivers head to Florida next week. But a wild one here tonight, second longest race on the season. It was worth sticking around for that final lap between Jordan, Schaus, and Heisung. Taylor Jordan picking up the victory here tonight. Matt, a wild one here tonight. We saw, like I said, we saw a little bit of everything here tonight in terms of strategy, green flag pit stops, some wild wrecks, some flips, and then an exciting finish. Everything that Auto Club could offer. I appreciate you joining me up in the booth here this evening.
Always a blast.
Thanks to everybody that tuned into our coverage here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I guess, again, next Sunday night, we will be at Homestead Miami Speedway for race number 7 of the F.A.R.T NDCar series under the Dark Horse Racing Series banner. For Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.